asked. Three, sorry.
Hello, Jennifer Carpenter, Healtsick Nation, Central Coast of BC. I've read many of what you presented today. It's quite a compelling presentation of what we're dealing with. I have two questions. One, have you heard of in terms of stealing ideas for a good cause, there was a book written by a Canadian journalist called Terry Glavin called The Last Great Sea. Have you heard of that book? The last chapter is called The Necessary Mysteries of the Pacific, and it attempts to look at the great complexity of what you're dealing with in the Pacific Ocean, for example, ocean regimes and things like that. Zoning may be a last gap measure, but some species move great distances, salmon, herring, and zoning won't accommodate sustainably managing those. A second question was, you've mentioned that decisions should be made on the best available science. Now that's a double-edged sword. That's used for making management decisions when you don't have sufficient science. It's been mentioned, questions have been raised before about what really is out there. You know, what resources are put to research. So I was wondering if your organization not only seeks to steal information in a good sense from what scientists are doing, but we know organizations that are actively promoting the kind of research that will answer questions about a very complex environment. And as I said, zoning may be a last desperate gasp, but does your organization also support active research that is raising very good research questions?
Well, let me answer the second first. I think How We Fish Matters is an example of research, synthetic research, gathering information from disparate places and bringing it together and talking with experts. I mean experts such as managers and fishermen and ocean scientists, and getting their best take on what is the most and the least harmful kind of thing. So we do both. I sure hope you're wrong about one thing, and that is zoning is the last gasp. If it is, then we're in real trouble. And I'm hoping we're not in such trouble that this is the last thing we do before failing. I'm not in this to fail. I'm old enough so that I want to see us succeed in this sublimely, so that in the future we have a healthy economy, a healthy society, and healthy marine ecosystems. And I think this is the only way we're going to get them. There's an American novelist named Rita Mae Brown, and she said it best. She said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And we've been doing the same thing over and over again, and the result is we're losing what we care about. And it doesn't matter if what you care about is having salmon for ceremonial purposes, or what you care about is knowing that the earth is whole. It doesn't matter. We care about healthy, living marine ecosystems. And doing the same thing over and over again is going to not produce a different result. I think we need to change the trajectory, and that's my hope.
And can you address the question of how zoning can address highly migratory species such as salmon?
Perfect. Yes, absolutely.
If it can.
Yeah. Oh, well, certainly it can. If everything were evenly distributed and unpredictable, zoning wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. But as the First Nations of this coast know better than anyone else, the salmon are in certain places at certain stages of their life history at certain times. And in some cases, they're more vulnerable than others. And we have to be more diligent about protecting them in the places and times when they're most vulnerable, and be most respectful of them as a resource where they're all concentrated and they're too busy thinking of things like reproduction, which tends to get my attention and tends to take my mind off things at times. I think it's really important to understand that whether we're talking about whales or seals or seabirds, fish, any highly migratory organisms can be managed in spatially explicit systems. And you have to think about it intelligently. It's not a simple thing. It's not an easy thing. But right now, we seem to see that these highly migratory things all over the world are disappearing, and we don't want that to happen. I don't know anybody who says, boy, I want to see salmon disappear.
Okay, we have a question from the webcast in Prince Rupert. Today we've been told that PNCIMA truly is a priority for DFO. However, they seem unwilling or unable, this is editorializing, seem unwilling or unable to understand that everything within this LOMA, Local Ocean Management Area, is actually connected to everything else in this LOMA. We have been told to manage our expectations about how far-reaching the solutions can be. It's our experience that creating a small fix for only one portion of the problem will not actually create solutions. With the benefit of your distant perspective, please provide any insights you may have into how we can reconcile the contradicted mindset presented by Mr. Moore that we can actually find win-win solutions. You may want to respond, and I don't know if Wayne may want to respond.
I think a big problem that we've had is that there's usually one winner and everybody else loses in the system we have, which is why we have the mess that we do. Large sectors of society haven't been included in the process, and they haven't been heard, and their interests haven't been taken into account. And so whatever is the dominant political driver, and it's different in different places, you're going to have one winner and lots of losers. I think an alternative model is to see how we can have win-win solutions where we can have the different things we care about, and we can try to find something like a socially acceptable balance. And it's not an easy thing to do. It's harder to make love than to make war. But on the other hand, war is not a very sustainable solution. It leaves a lot of damage.
It's also cheaper to make love than war, I'm told. We are.
I've been saving for that one for a long time.
We're slightly over time. I think this has been well worthwhile. I apologize to the tables. We have to move on because we have to create two rooms out of one, and I would be grateful if you could put the locations back on the board. Sorry? You can, I'm sorry, you can't. We don't have enough time. But you can talk to Elliot later. We understand that. Okay, I've got to stop you. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude.
We're going to have 1 minute to talk, and somebody will be farting in the wind.
Might just happen. Now, the next thing is going to happen is there's going to be a wall that comes across here, and it will create a room over here, which is one of the Minoru rooms. Again, find your location. Which Minoru room is this? Does anybody know? That's AB.